Hello, folks. Welcome back to Fearox Frank Review. This is your host, Fearox Frank. And today we're going to talk about a William Castle film. Now, what is that name, William Castle? And I know some of you are thinking, did I trim my goatee? Is my beard growing out? Well, yeah, I'm trying to grow an actual full-grown goatee because I'm dressing up as Tom Selleck's Jesse Stone from the Jesse Stone films. Why? Why not? I mean, they're not bad movies. I mean, I know they're Hallmark films, so what the hell? I could try doing it. Okay. So, who is William Castle? He is a director, writer, and producer. Now, he's most notably famous for his horror films, namely films that were, how do I put this, interactive horror films. What I mean by interactive, I mean the movies can be somewhat enjoyable because they can have the audience interact with it. Yeah, it was a really silly gimmick at the time, but you know what? That made the movies fun and enjoyable. And today is one of several films that William Castle actually did using that. And today is a special one because it also stars Vincent Price. Today's movie is The Tingler. And before I continue, once you wonder, thank you for this lovely gift. This is a classic. And for any beloved horror fan, this is truly enjoyable. It's downright, how do I put this? It's silly in some rights, but you know what? It's a William Castle directed film, and it stars the great, the one and only Vincent Price. Get a good look at that, folks. Vincent Price is in this movie. It is also, and to be fair, he gives this movie charm. Oh, yes. When Vincent Price acts in his movies, he delivers a beloved charm. Whether he plays a good guy or a bad guy, or just a rather, how do I put this, a neutral character, he does it with such delight. Uh, Even when he plays a despicable villainous character, he does it with such authentic style acting. You just love the guy so damn much for giving it his all. Even if he half-asses the film, it's still damn right enjoyable. So, what's this film about? Well, putting it this way, I know I'm being very sarcastic when I say this. You just imagine this. Imagine if the Scarecrow from Batman actually made a movie. Yeah, you pretty much get an idea what this is about. Okay, how do I put this? Vincent Price plays a doctor who is mostly experimenting with fear, and there was something about it that actually has been driving him crazy. Amongst several executions he has done autopsies for, he actually found out during the method of execution, even though the execution was done by electrocution, firing squad, or hanging, for some reason there's some parts of the human spinal column that were shattered for some reason, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. He meets a man named Ollie. And no, I'm not gonna make any Ollie North jokes. But if you want to hear the Ollie North song, just pop it up from American Dad. Because the only time I hear Ollie, I think about that damn song from American Dad. Thank you, Seth MacFarlane, for getting that song stuck in my fucking head. Thank you for that. Ugh. So basically, his character. So basically, Ollie takes him. So Vince drives Ollie home, and we're introduced to his wife, Martha, played by Judith Evelyn. And she is just a delightful character. She doesn't speak at all. She is a deaf mute, but it's mostly her visual acting that portrays her fear. We basically follow her around for a bit because, well, she can't express screaming or any. She mostly has what we call terrors or something. She faints. She doesn't know what is. But Vincent thinks there's something more with it. And he discusses it with Ollie. Sorry, there's something got stuck in my foot. There we go. Ah. So, Vincent thinks there's something, a type of unknown force, like a ting. And of course, Ollie talks about this tingling sensation, and he calls it the Tingler. Makes a bit of a joke. Tingling sensation. Tingler. I like it. We'll call it that. The Tingler. And so he's been experimenting on trying to figure out if this Tingler thing is even real. It's more like a medical phenomenon that needs to be explored. And so thus they explore it. So he is Vincent and his assistant. I know Vincent has a name in the movie, but I'm just gonna call him Vincent Price because it's Vincent Price. You can't go wrong with his performance, no matter who he plays. It's Vincent Price. Just going on with things. Also, he plays Eggman. He played Eggman on the Adam West Batman show. That's another delightful fact. And ironically enough, this is a little weird, but on the Adam West Batman animated films, which were a continuation of that show, William Shatner plays a younger him playing Harvey Dent, who later turns into Two-Face. And it's actually supposedly one of the best films that Adam West actually starred in as Batman. You know what? Maybe I should review that film this month. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. However, they are still continuing the research on the Tingler, and his research is somewhat all fear-based. So you can kind of see why I made the Scarecrow comparison a little bit earlier. Jonathan Crane mostly experimented with fear and also this exploit fear, which was his thing because he was how do we put this? A fucking raving lunatic. He's a psycho and a weakling and a coward. Just an overall little bitch. Who Batman beats the shit out of. No, he doesn't beat the shit out of him. He smacks the shit out of him from time to time. And for some reason, he was always a recurring character in the Dark Knight trilogy. Why? Well, okay, I found out that the Dark Knight trilogy, he wasn't supposed to appear in the third film. That was actually supposed to be originally for the Joker, but they couldn't do that because Heath Ledger had passed away before the second film was even released. So that was scrapped. But anyway, Vincent lives with his wife's sister, and his assistant, who's dating the lovely sister. His wife is, how do I put this, a cheating whore and a complete bitch. And he basically tells her what. In the most deviously Vincent Price way ever. How he talks down to her. It's like, ooh, girl, you just got owned by Vincent Price. And he has a pistol. What are you going to do? Now, I have a pistol. You're going to come with me in the lab. And he shoots her in the lab. And no, he doesn't kill her. He's not that cold-blooded, for God's sake. He doesn't resort to murder, but the bullet was actually a blank, and so she passes out, and he takes photographs of her. Not in a sick way. Here's the thing. He puts her body on the operating table, which happens to be an X-ray, which also has an X-ray scanner. So he takes photos of her back, mostly in the area where you would have that tingling sensation. And and of course, he wakes her up and tells her she did such a good job. She hates him as always, but he tells her that that she should be good to her sister from now on, which she does most of the rest of the movie. And to be fair, his wife is pretty much a nuisance at this point, who nobody cares about. So yeah, fuck it. And his assistant comes in the following day, and Vincent shows him something very unique. The X-ray photos reveal a creature of some kind. He shows him in reverse order. A little thing, medium-sized thing, and a big thing that covers the entire spinal column. It's like a insect-like creature that is unknown to science. So, that thing is the Tingler. And we get some shenanigans, and we get some more scientific babble here and there. Vincent Price experiments with fear, and to be fair, him freaking out, like having a literal freak out, is one of the best parts of the movie, seeing his acting prowess. Because, like I said, it's Vincent Price, just take it in. Vincent Price acting like all fearful and having a freak out attack. Don't really see many of those these days. So just soak it all up. I know I did. I just sat back like this and just like, oh, you don't see that very often. Yeah, you're the greatest, Vince. You're the greatest. But that being said, Ollie actually Ollie has Vincent. Anyway, Vince actually thinks of something of how to actually get the tingling sensation out. Maybe to get the tingler. So he goes over to Vincent and Martha, and checks her out to make sure she's medically okay. And he has Ollie give her some medication, prescription medications, because he's a good man and a doctor. However, afterwards, something a little weird happens, and this is like something very unusual, and this is kind of like haunted, like paranormal activity shit, where kind of like borderline mixed in with like a Freddy Krueger film and a regular slasher movie, which is really weird. So Martha starts having a ton of terror visions that literally scare the living shit out of her. And then we see probably one of the most disturbing things in the movie. Now, keep this in mind. This film is literally in black and white. Just look at it. All these still images are in black and white. Now, the sink is running in the bathroom, and the bathtub is running, and we see red, brightly colored red liquid coming out, obviously indicating blood, even though blood's supposed to be a much more darker red color, but you know what? Okay, sure. It's in color, it's supposed to be really freaky. And in the tub, we see a hand rising out of it. And there's a death certificate in the inside the bathroom mirror, and that ultimately scares her to death. Ollie calls up Vince, and he brings her over, and well, he checks her out. She's dead. But however, after discussing how to set up the funeral arrangement, Martha's body just comes up, just like sits up real quick. They see it, they freak out, and then the body just goes back down. What in the hell was that? Vince discovers, I don't think it was human at all. Let me see. No, she is quite dead. I wonder. He does an autopsy and removes the actual creature, the Tingler, and it's I guess I would say a centipede-like creature that's really that's big and slimy as all hell. There's no head to it whatsoever. Well, it's got two antennae on raised things, but here's the thing: it tries to grab onto Vince and it's really strong. It almost breaks his arm, and then he screams, and it plops down, passes out. So apparently, screaming is actually what releases the tension and actually stops Tingler from taking over. And since Martha was a deaf mute, she was unable to scream, hence why the Tingler grew, and grew, up until the point where it just up and killed her. So anyway, Vince now has a sample of the Tingler, actually has a Tingler sample, and now he can do experimentations with it. Anyway, Ollie takes his wife. Anyway, Vince tells Ollie to call the police and set up a funeral arrangement at the funeral home, where we get some more little things with him and with Vince and his wife. His wife gets him completely drunk later on and releases the Tingler. And while she up and escapes as the Tingler's about to kill him, her sister walks in and then screams her lungs out, which makes the thing pass out. So Vince realizes this thing is dangerous, so he and his assistant do several experiments on it. But we also find out that Vince's wife had actually left completely. She took everything with her clothing. But she'll know this. She's smart enough to come back because he'll release the Tingler on her or kill her because he is dead serious. So you never ever fuck with Vincent Price. If you do, you never live to tell the tale afterwards. You got away from now, but the next wife will not get away. Nope. I'll explain later. So anyway, Vince has his assistant call his assistant, whose name is David, by the way, call up the funeral home and call the police about what actually had happened and make sure if like Ollie did everything. He never did anything at all. He thought it was weird. So he has David call up Ollie as much as he can until he gets there. He takes the Tingler along. Now here's the thing: he takes the Tingler with him. Now he and his assistant tried destroying the Tingler. The damn thing couldn't get destroyed, no matter what they did to it. So they figured maybe if he returns the Tingler to Martha's body, it'll die out eventually. Okay, that works. So Vince takes the Tingler over to the movie theater, which where Holly and Martha actually happen to own. They own a small, unique little movie theater that actually shows nothing but silent movies. But Vince only is interested in Charlie Chaplin films. Okay, honestly, who isn't interested in Charlie Chaplin films? I mean, come on, it's Charlie Chaplin for God's sake. Also, Jackie Chan happens to be a fan of Charlie Chaplin too, so it's not surprising. I mean, hell, what do you think when Jackie got most of the idea for all of his stunts? Hmm. Was it Charlie Chaplin? I'm not too sure. Been a while. I'm an idiot. No gives a shit. But anyway, all joking aside, Vince actually gets to Ollie. He finds out that Ollie never actually got rid of, actually did nothing. He's been stealing money from Martha's safe for a while, and he sees there's a giant truck right next to the safe. He opens it, and it happens to be all the stuff that she was afraid of that Ollie saw in her nightmarish vision. So it was actually him the entire time. He killed his wife, and he sees that Martha is in the back room, just lying there. He didn't do anything. So Vince tells him that he's going to call the police after he puts the Tingler back. And he says he's a real bastard for doing that. So the way he just does it's very Vincent Price, and that's why we love him for it. So they go and get the Tingler, but the problem is the Tingler escaped and it went to the theater. And this is when the interactive part kind of came in. During during which the theater, like the Tingler is loose in the theater, like at some point the Vincent Price turns out the lights and he tells everybody like the Tingler is loose. Yes, please scream your lungs out. Please scream, and it will not hurt you. Scream, and we hear a bunch of people screaming and screaming. I would actually play the sound clip of it though, but I might get flagged on YouTube, so I don't want to do that. I mean, I didn't get flagged when I actually wrote when I did the most wanted segment of I'm the Warrior from Most Wanted, but then again, that was years ago. So what the hell? But either way, we had that fun little interaction, which I'm not gonna lie, I laughed really hard during that whole segment because it's hilarious. But it only goes to show you one thing. It goes to show you how interactive and fun these movies were. Yeah, we need more films like this with interactivity. That's really enjoyable. Oh yes, very enjoyable. Now, eventually, they actually do get the Tangler back. Because of all the intensive screaming, the Tingler is now weakened, and now Vincent and Ollie get it back to the apartment where Vincent puts it back into Martha. And Vincent said he's going to call the police. He's going to just go and call the police. Ollie pulls a gun on him and says, "You're not going to do that." And Vincent just does this. Goodbye, Ollie. Just casually says goodbye, gets his stuff, and he just walks right out like a fucking boss because he's Vincent goddamn Price. He has every right to do that. And then we get another scary segment. All right, seriously, this is kind of like really freaky and scary. But after Vincent leaves, the same paranormal shit that happened earlier with Martha is now happening to Ollie. And Martha just wakes up. She just stares right at Ollie, and all we see is Ollie's face, like he's unable to scream. It's like a very, very scary, like a very creepy image. And we're assumed to say that maybe Martha from beyond, that the Tingler took control of Martha's body and wants to kill Ollie. Like, secretly, Martha wants to kill Ollie, so it's the Tingler's letting her do that, which is really weird. Like it's some weird paranormal shit. Anyway, the movie cuts to black real quick, and we hear Vincent give off a good monologue saying, "If you don't believe you have a Tingler, turn off the lights, stay in the dark, and try not to scream. And when you're in terror, try not to scream." And the movie ends right there on the spot. That, my friends, is the Tingler. And like I said, it's an entertaining movie, mostly because of Vincent Price's acting, and of course the segment with William Castle. Well, William Castle actually comes in earlier in the movie, and he tells the audience that they have to interact later on. We get that lovely interaction scene towards the end of the movie, but really, it's Vincent who steals the movie. It's he's starring in it, and he just eats the screen up every time he's on. And then he is just so damn delightful. That's why people love Vincent Price as a horror master. But you know what really bugs me about Vincent Price? He never worked with Hammer horror films. So, yeah, I mean, everybody says the Hammer. When it comes down to Hammer horror, the two beloved actors in that franchise is either going to be Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. And Vincent Price was with those guys, we would have had the trio of horror. Now that would have been one hell of a dynamic film series to have all three of those guys in it. But unfortunately, we don't. Maybe somewhere in the multiverse we do. But still, this is a delightful film. But if you're a horror fan, I recommend you watch it. I mean, just sit down and watch it. It is just, like I said, with Vincent Price, it is just damn near enjoyable. It's just so damn enjoyable. I enjoy this movie. All right, it's a classic film. You're not going to get bored with it. Now, that being said, I think it's time I do another William Castle film. And I'm in the mood for something that's a bit haunted, because we had some haunted elements in this film. So, tune in next time, which will be tomorrow, because this will be pretty easy to do. This is going to be really fast. Tune in next time, and we'll talk about House on Haunted Hill, the original one. This is Felix Frank, signing out.